Good morning, and I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year before we call the December 19th Community Services Committee meeting to order. Can I get a roll call, please, Diane?
Mr. Seroy?
Present.
Ms. Weber? Present. Mr. Stauffenberg? Present. Mr. Vickery? Present. Mr. Tholen? Ms. Polk? Present. Yay. Yay. All right. Mr. Snipes? Mr. Hildebrand? Ms. Evans? Mr. Payton? Present. Ms. Peters? Present. Ms. Dunbar? Ms. Parker? Present. Mr. Fairfield? Present. Mr. Wheeler? Present. Mr. Lear? Present. We have a quorum.
Morning.
Ms. Dunbar?
Present. Okay, do I have any public comment today for community services? Seeing no public, I assume I have no public comment. So I need a motion to approve the November 21st minutes. Ms. Parker with the first, Ms. Peters with the second. All in favor? All opposed? The minutes are approved. I'd like to introduce Recorder, Mrs. Gadbois, and I need a motion to approve her monthly report. Mr. Payton and Miss Dunbar. Can I get a voice vote? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Good morning, Lori.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Any questions on the November report? You know that's our fiscal year end. Nothing? Okay, very good. The only other item I have for you is discussion today and more tangible information probably next month. Working with the state's attorney's office on creating an ordinance for Kankakee County that real estate related documents have the PIN number and common address on them. Today, it is not a required statutory requirement on the documents. However, more and more, every person that's coming in, or any of you probably know your PIN number or your address, but you don't know your legal description. So your legal description is tied in with your PIN number through the assessor's office and, of course, the treasurer's website or treasurer's information. Our office specifically needs legal descriptions first, PIN or common address second, and of course your name third to search. So to make things a little easier for indexing, if we have the PIN number, we could put it in and then people can search and find their information better. So this is not new. It's been done in many, many counties. It's just a business practice for the entities to start doing that. So with that, I just wanted to bring it before you that that's going to be coming to you in some kind of written form for more discussion, and just kind of get your feedback or input on how you feel about that.
Questions? Miss Dunbar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're on.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Not a question, just a comment. The things that I do in my real job, that would be a wonderful thing to just cut down on time, cut down on miscommunication. If something's transposed in the PIN number, then you have the legal description or the address. You can cross-reference. It's just, I can definitely see why it would be a much better business practice. So thanks.
Miss Weber.
I have my tax
Yes.
with me. Is the PIN number on here?
Yes, at the very top. You live out County West.
Mm-hmm.
So your first two numbers are, what are they, maybe 11?
14.
Okay,
on the
14.
Parcel number?
Yeah, so it's a 1414 something. Yep.
Good
That's
job.
your PIN number. And that's most people know that, especially our agricultural community. Let me tell you, they know their PIN
Do
numbers.
they really?
Oh, yeah. Well, they also know their legals too, which is a little bit different than what like in-town people don't really realize where they live. Like, I know where I live. I live in Old Farm Sub, the original edition, that first or second. different things like that. But, you know, like Mr. Stauffenberg has, you know, property in Section Township range, you know, and he can tell you what Section 1 Township and what range. And to them and to my office, it makes sense. But to the rest of the world, they're like, what are you talking about? You know, they're very confused. It really is easy, but PIN numbers and common addresses, and that is property that is addressed, because farmland isn't addressed. So would be what is required on these documents. And if there's no address, you just say vacant land, just like you would on the P-tax form if you were transferring property.
The other thing we talked earlier about is there was trying to find history on the Methodist Church in Herscher. Does it have a PIN number actually?
Yep.
Even though they pay no taxes,
Yep.
there's still a PIN number that somebody must have somewhere.
Well, we can find it for
Oh,
you.
you do, man.
Oh, we can find it for you. It's
you,
it's
Sam.
not that hard. It's a little longer process, but we can always get to the
The corner.
yeah. So
Thanks so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
any other question? Yes.
Your office, obviously, there's a lot of documents filed, recorded that would require, what about the other offices that would have these documents? I'm just wondering, would this require us to get rid of all the forms in any other offices and add this field to those forms, or are we proceeding, use those up and then the next round? If, like, the treasurer has PIN numbers on
Well,
things, I'm just trying to, the other impacts.
okay.
you know.
So nobody really has forms anymore. Okay.
It's
just
all
so
on
you
a
know.
computer screen?
So, well, the way the process works, it has to be recorded in my office first to start anything. And then that information is transferred to the assessor's office. They do what they do. And then that's transferred to the treasurer. So there's not separate, other than a specific change of address maybe in Eric's office. But the core purpose of property ownership starts in my office.
Okay, so there's no other impact beyond yours?
Not really.
Okay.
I think they might like it better
Oh, sure. I'm just
in the
wondering.
assessor's office, because it's probably one less step that they're going to be looking for and doing with information that they pull from my records. So I think it would be a positive and not a negative. The only negative is going to really be on attorneys, title companies, and anyone preparing these documents. Really, yeah. And I got to tell you, a lot of, especially our local banks, are doing a fabulous job lately. We've noticed on our mortgages and releases, they're putting all that information on,
Okay.
which is great. But it's just the rest of the world that records with us. They're going to have to improve their practices. And if I have this in an ordinance saying the county, you know, stands behind me and wants this, then it's more enforceable with these companies that I can reject it. You have to provide it and put it on there and send it back to me.
No problem. Just when I saw all documents filed or recorded, all documents filed just in your department.
That's the state's attorney's office just making sure they've covered everything. Yeah, we
Understood.
only record in my office. We don't file. That's Sandy's office. They file in the circuit clerk and record in the recorders. So, difference.
Any other questions about the ordinance? I think it's a great idea. I just wondering how come we haven't done it before. I mean, if it's a one number thing.
There's history
What-
to that. I'll share it with you someday.
Okay, I mean, okay,
I've been asking for it for 8 years.
okay, gotcha. I see. Any other questions about this?
Where's that ordinance located?
It's not.
I think it's gonna be written.
It has to be written. This
This is just
yeah.
discussion. If you have any questions about it, I don't think it's been written yet. It's
No.
just discussion.
We're working on it.
Right.
Yeah. We're just getting other counties kind of, you know, don't reinvent the wheel, just borrow it.
Okay. So do we need a motion on this?
No.
I mean,
It's not an
we
action
don't
item
have an
yet.
action item.
No,
so
not until we have paper.
Okay.
I didn't know that till we got there. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mrs. Gadbois?
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Christmas. Next up, the assessor, Mr. Eric Blair. Come on down. I need a motion to approve his monthly report. Miss Peters, Miss Dunbar. Good morning, everyone. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. How you doing, Eric?
Doing well. Is this on?
Oh, let me get you now. Now try it.
All right. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
All right, great. Morning.
Good morning.
It's been a little bit since I've had an opportunity to report in front of this committee, so I'm just going to bring you up to speed on everything that's happened since last I spoke with you in September, actually, which is quite a bit of stuff, but I can get you through it pretty quickly here. As far as the things that we've completed recently, I did receive the tentative equalization factor from the Department of Revenue back in probably late September. We did actually, our 3-year median, our goal is 33.33, and that's exactly what I achieved this year. There's a range of values that can be acceptable. It doesn't have to be 33.33, but as long as I'm trying to do the job, I might as well be shooting for bullseye, and this year I actually hit the bullseye, so I was pretty happy with that. Something that I always wanted to make sure that I strived for. We've also passed the deadline to accept all appeals. We took 362 appeals this year, which is less than the last few years, which has been a little bit closer to 450 and 500 the last few years. So this was kind of a down year in terms of the number of appeals filed. We also scheduled the last hearings for Board of Review to happen this Thursday, the 22nd. So, or I'm sorry, the 21st. I think I typed it wrong on here. So we have hearings going on today, this morning, until about noon. We'll have them again on Thursday until noon, and those will be the final hearings that we have for the year. I would then expect the Board of Review to probably come in on the 28th of December and sign the final equalization reports so that I can hand the abstract, the final abstract documentation over to the clerk prior to the end of the year. So that's something that I look for at the beginning of the year to try to set all of that up and make sure it happens. And I was fortunate enough for that to happen now for the 3rd year in a row. Another thing that happened since last we spoke, I did go to a meeting in Springfield with the Illinois Association of County Board Members to speak with them about our legislative initiative on solar energy projects and how to assess those properly. So that went very well. I spoke in front of about 35 county board members from around the state, and about 24 hours later, I did send an email to the director of that association, and she immediately said that that body gave the full support to our legislative agenda or initiative. So I'm pretty excited about that moving forward. I think we're going to have a draft available to circulate here in early January for some legislators to look at. So that's moving along pretty well here. As far as things that are still pending, of course, we still have a few hearings left to have today and Thursday. I'm gonna hold the annual meeting with township assessors on the 27th, next Wednesday. That's already been scheduled and published in the newspaper, so I'll go ahead and have that meeting in the afternoon on the 27th. That's a procedural thing annually that I have to do just to meet with them and instruct on matters of uniformity and things like that. And like I said before, I'm going to turn the final abstract information over to the clerk on the 28th of December. And then we'll start to work on rolling DevNet from 2017 to 18, and I'll be creating township books and things like that and distributing those probably by the middle of January. So with that, I'll open up for any questions. If anyone has any thoughts or questions, please go ahead.
Mrs. Weber.
Hi, thank you. Do you have assessors for all of the places you want them? Everybody in place?
We do have assessors in every jurisdiction except for Pembroke. We did Basu did not rerun, and that position will be vacant on January 1. However, that township board will have an opportunity to appoint someone if there is someone qualified, and I believe the current assessor is working on getting his 30 hours in so that he could even potentially be reappointed. So at this point, even though it will be vacant on January 1, I do believe that there are positions that we can, there are avenues where we can have someone in place very shortly after the first of the year.
Mr. Wheeler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to make sure that it's clear that that's an elected position, out there. That is not something the county board appoints
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
or anything along those lines. And so there's a misconception that we are in charge of all the assessors out there at some point, and they all work for Eric's office. I just want to make that clarification because there seems to be, especially in Pembroke Township, there seems to be some consternation about that situation, and it's not us. I'm sure we're there to help out in case there is a void and help broker solutions with other assessors, whatever.
Right.
But that's
Right.
about our role. That's all we can legally do. So.
That's a great point. And if I didn't make, I'm sorry, if I didn't make it clear enough right there, it would be the township trustees of Pembroke that would have the opportunity to appoint someone, should there be someone qualified. And like I said, we have some avenues there that we'll talk about.
Mr. Lear first, then I'll get you Mr. Payton.
I just wanted to congratulate you, Mr. Blair, and your staff for hitting the equalization factor with a bullseye. That's a great achievement.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Payton.
If the board appoints, what qualification do that person have to be appointed?
Appointed by the township
By the
trustees.
township?
There is a series of classes that need to be taken. There are a few different ways that you can do it, but the most common way to do it is to take some classes through the Illinois Property Appraisal Institute. There are 4 classes there, and then you would take 2 elective classes from the Department of Revenue. So there are a total of 6 tests that you would have to take and pass in order to qualify.
Could a person be enrolled into the classes, the beginning, and still be eligible to be appointed?
You need to first possess the CIAO designation, that's what you would have at the end of the 6 classes before you can be appointed.
Okay.
Yeah, officially appointed. You have to be certified by the Department of Revenue that you have that certification in hand before you can be appointed to that spot.
Thank you.
Mr. Vickery.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Eric.
Morning.
My recall tells me that we had to share an assessor over in the Momence Janier Township. We had the Janier Township had to employ the assessor from Momence Township for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So that option is available.
Yes. The other thought is there could be, the township can contract with someone that's willing to do it. That's another thought too.
And has the qualifications.
Right, exactly, and what you're speaking of is with the untimely passing of the Janier Township assessor a few years ago, and Marcia Tedford stepped up and took that spot temporarily until someone was ready to go. So yes, that is another option. It's like I said, there are some avenues we can explore, and that would be one of them.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Blair? Thank you, Eric. Have a great Christmas.
You too. Happy holidays, folks.
Merry Christmas.
Next on the docket is Animal Control, Miss Julie Boudreau. Could I have a motion to approve her monthly report? Ms. Parker, Mr. Stauffenberg with a second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. I gotta take care of a little business too here, Julie. Put that in your purse. That's hand delivered because my dad's tight. He doesn't want to give you a stamp.
Aw, thank you.
There you go. Dog fees are paid. 2 for 1 at the meeting today. 2 for 1.
I won't give you that ticket then.
Thank you, Julie, for taking that.
Not a problem. Good morning. Report. Are there any questions on the report this morning? If not, there's just a couple little things that I want to point out. As we well know, the bites are up this year. So many, the wildlife, I think, really drove that up. And certainly a significant number of bites that we dealt with. We had seen a real rise in dog-on-dog aggression. Some of that then ends up getting a person involved that gets bit. I think on a state level, we've been talking a little bit about some future language. Once I know something is out there that a senator or rep has sponsored, I'll certainly bring that back and discuss it with the committee. On a happier note, I'd like you to look at while the month to date, the euthanasia numbers are the same. If you look at the overall for the year, I know those euthanasia numbers are always very sensitive. Really a nice reduction in euthanasia. If you take away the wildlife, which is often something that, really it has to be done. Because they're either sick or they're a potential rabies case that we have to test. Really happy about that reduction. Return to owners are up, adoptions and transfers are up. So those numbers, I like to see them going in that direction for sure. And our registration was up. I think that really needs to be attributed, and a kudos to the officers that are out there in the field, making sure that people are in compliance. So I really appreciate their efforts on that. And
Mrs. Evans, let me find number 8.
Thank you. I heard on the radio, it's probably been, I don't know, within the last month. The holidays in retail is like a blur for me. So, but it was on the news, on the local radio, that there were a couple of dogs, puppies that were found in rural Bonfield. I just wondered, and they were kind of putting a question out to the public if anybody knows anything about them. I don't know if there's anything that you can talk about, but did you ever get any answers? Because I know it was to contact your office if someone, so you never heard any.
Yeah, we reached out to the sheriff's department so that they could put it out there on their site, and kind of the Crime Stoppers, please help us. And we've not gotten one tip, one word. We think that possibly maybe they came from a different county. Oh. It's not too far to come from a different county to a rural road. We really do not think that these animals were hit by a car. The injuries just didn't seem indicative of that. I've talked to a couple of the other veterinarians. They kind of on the same page that sadly we think that this was certainly a crime. Maybe a vengeful thing. Somebody was mad at somebody. I don't know, but it was really devastating to find 2 young, really nice dogs. There was no reason for that. Their harnesses and leashes were brand new. Makes no sense, but we have not gotten any tips. I'm sorry to report that, but thank you.
Mr. Wheeler.
Thank you. I just, I want to say thanks for the numbers that, we're getting close to year end. It looks like we're handling more animals with less euthanasias. If you take wildlife out, it's even more profound. And the adoptions are up. It seems like things are going in a good direction. So it's good stories to tell, and the numbers, obviously don't lie. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the recognition of that. We're trying really, really hard out there. I have just a couple FYI updates. First, I'd like to say thank you to everyone that came out to our adoption fair and supply drive on the 9th. One of the police officers, Dee Regas, came from the city police and asked if she could help with this, and she kind of spearheaded this. So it was really a nice effort. We got more supplies than we almost had room to put them. So that was, really a blessing, and a nice amount of cash donations to BARC for our building fund. I've seen a lot of familiar faces. Thank you so much for coming out. If I didn't get to say hello to somebody and you were there, I apologize. But again, thank you. We were pretty packed, and every room it was a steady stream. So really nice, and that gets the public out and helps them see the need of that new building and the difficulties and the challenges that we deal with in this this old inadequate building. So thank you for that. And I don't know if anybody's familiar with the name Pat Gurecki. She was once in our county back, I believe, in 2010 out in the trailer park near St. Anne. We had started a case. Cook County kind of came in and did their thing. At any rate, she moved to Indiana about the time that we were closing down our puppy mill out there on Route 1. Indiana was also charging her within that same week for animal cruelty. I know in Newton County, they stated she could no longer have animals in Newton County. I wish they would have broadened that a little bit, but that's what they did. In May, she was found to be harboring dogs in a bomb bunker. Really horrible. They had to rope them down in cages. They had to bring them up that way. A couple of the officers that I've spoke to over there in Newton County, they serve both as building inspector and animal control. One was hospitalized with permanent lung damage from this. She has 14 felonies pending against her. Lo and behold, we got a report that she was coming over here into our county and selling dogs in parking lots. Talked to Newton County. We did a little sting operation of our own. Really proud of our efforts. We were able to provide Indiana with the proof they needed to show that she was still doing this. She was crossing state lines. I asked them if our information was helpful to them. They said yes, indeed it was. It spurred their prosecution into doing their own sting, in which she did exactly what we gave them proof she was doing, and she has now had her bond revoked and in jail. I hope that this lady has gone around the state for years and decades and gotten away with this. I hope no more. So I'm really helping even across state lines. We're working together to try to stop this stuff. So just thought I would let you all know.
Very good. Mrs. Weber.
The other thing that we're happy with is Tinker and Elizabeth's committee that they chair together, and I just wanted you to report on your confidence or comfortable, how comfortable are they helping you? Tell me about that.
Oh, I think we're doing, we're really building a great team and advisory group there. A lot of communication. There are so many things that we really have in common, and goals that I think are able to achieve. We've got a nice amount of agenda items that we're going to be working on this winter, coming into spring, and there'll probably be a few hurdles down the road, but we're really trying to build that trust and camaraderie with one another, concentrating on the good things, the common things that we can get done, and hopefully we will have built enough respect for one another that when we get to the tougher challenges, it'll be a little easier.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So, thanks for asking.
Mr. Snipes.
Yes, I noticed that there's been a tremendous small increase in the building fund. What, about $100 and some odd dollars, or $2 at the most. So that's absent what BARC has raised then, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. We have close to $250,000 combined in revenue. The 137 is the interest on that, and you can see from last year it's come up quite a bit. Prior to 2008, we were there was a year or two that we were getting like $500 a month interest, and then it really, as everybody knows, it just plummeted to dollars. So I'm real happy to see that it's coming back up, and I hope it continues that way.
Okay, and then the second question is, I know we have a cable assets, and at some point in time, I'm hoping that we start utilizing it. I know the city controls it, but it's free. And I was just wondering at some point in time if there's like a video with the dog care, blah, blah, or whatever that they can kind of make and just put it on there since it's a free avenue, kind of educate people about the Animal Foundation.
Thank you. That would be great. I know our BARC committee has talked about some action items that we're planning for this new year, and doing a video is one of those, so that we can get that out to the public for those that can't make it to us, that we can get that message out as to the constraints we're working with, why it's so necessary, and the really good things that we can bring to the community once we can utilize the new property and truly become that resource center that I think this county deserves and needs.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Well, it gives me great honor to announce County Clerk Bruce Clark. I think this is his final voyage here. Man's short. They call it in the military, you're short.
It's not the first time.
Good morning, Bruce.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can I get a motion to approve Bruce's monthly report? Mrs. Evans and Miss Dunbar. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Agenda items. We were asked to bring a copier proposal from McGrath Whalen. Our copier in the county clerk's office is on its last leg, and we saw repeated visits to repair some original equipment that no longer can be repaired. So we were asked to bring this to committee. Steve McCarty can provide some information and insight on the copier. The cost is $4,781 for a new copier. And if I could have Steve just talk about the contract real quick.
You want to come sit down, Steve, or you want to come up to the front? Yeah, why don't you sit right here or sit in the front or wherever you'd like to sit.
Up here.
What is that, 7?
Good morning.
Good morning.
As Bruce mentioned, it came to our attention that this copier printer is no longer serviceable by Martin Whalen. They attempted many times to fix it. We do have a budget amount in capital development for items such as this. And so the unit, we are responsible for purchasing the unit, and then each unit goes underneath a main contract for the maintenance and repair down the road. So they cover, when it breaks down, toner, items such as that. So, and the service is all included in the monthly maintenance program, but we have to purchase the unit. So I spoke to Chairman Wheeler, and he suggested it come to a committee. So Bruce, brought it to the committee so that the board's aware of this purchase and the replacement of this unit.
You can't lease these? A lease is not available for us, or we'd rather purchase, or sometimes they lease those machines. You get and if it goes bad, they give you a new one. I don't know, I'm just a question.
Yeah, this whole thing started back in like 1999, and then we've just replaced until they wear out. We run them till they die, basically, and this one died. I don't know how old it is, Bruce, if you remember when it first came on board, but
Came on shortly after the mimeograph left.
I don't know if there's any of the 99 still running or not, but yeah, we did it. We did another pretty large change in, I want to say 03, 04, maybe somewhere in there.
So, do we have any questions about the copier? It's $4,781. Is that what it is to purchase?
Purchase them.
All right.
I'll make them, thank you, Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion if that's what we need, and then we can get into discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Second by Mr. Snipes. In discussion, Mr. Snipes, do you have anything to add to that, or?
No, basically, I was just going to say, go ahead and prove it was back in dinosaur days. Certainly, we have to upgrade technology so that we're more efficient and it doesn't sound way out the ballpark figure to something that we can't handle, according to Steve. If he can run the numbers and say it's there, then I believe it's there.
Mr. Wheeler.
Thank you. Bringing it to this committee, the appropriate, I think the motion, if I may, would be to send it with our recommendation to finance to approve this, because that's the job of finance committee, is to approve that expenditure. I agree with it. I'm just trying to do things the right way. Let the committee hear it, send it to finance. That's their job. So, and again, we don't want to delay things. So we're just talking basically next week, and then we make the call. So I would recommend it. But
Okay.
I'll amend my motion, Mr. Chairman, to send this to finance.
Okay.
with our recommendation.
With our recommendation. Same with you. All right. Then, do we need a roll call vote since we're gonna start spending, or we just
This
need
is just a recommendation. I think
recommendation?
finance-
So all in favor of sending this, purchasing the copier from Martin Whalen for the county clerk's office to go to finance committee? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. It'll go to finance.
You good?
Well, we're good.
I do have a question. These maintenance contracts, it's all under one contract, and where is that charged to? Is that central services? Okay.
For all of our
All of our
copiers.
calls, that's what I thought. Okay, just want to make sure.
Okay. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Just wrapping up, some of my final projects and duties and responsibilities and obligations. Just last week, I finished up my last legislative meeting with our state association. At that meeting, we made some recommendations to help the process, particularly the election process. And so we'll see how far those go this year. But they're just with general things in terms of addressing return vote by mail applications, shortening the days on early voting on Monday, precinct sizes, election security, some of those items were just cleanup legislation. Hopefully that those can move along and it'll help the process in Kankakee County in the future. We also I was really pleased that we cleaned the vault. The vault that stores vital records is a steel vault. You know, this was a bank at one time. And, we moved in this building in 91, 92. And so over the years, when you touch steel with your hands, you leave fingerprints all over it. And those rust. So there was a lot of rust spots, some maintenance needed to be done. So we worked, and Brian Gadboy in maintenance was very helpful to move this along with funds from our death automation fee that allows for taking care of supplies. Company came in and cleaned the vault. So I would hope that you would take a minute on your way out and look at it. It looks beautiful. People that worked at City National Bank would come in and they would be appalled. They would say, oh, we used to keep it so clean and so nice, and look at all the rust. It is clean, and it is clean and nice. So that was one of the things that I've wanted to do for years and got it done. So taking care of our, it's certainly not our property, but treating it like it is ours, I think is important, for the place that we inhabit. Also, finally, we delivered, food was delivered on our food drive, so people that contributed to that, we want to thank everybody that helped in the food drive. This was the 8th year that we've done it. So it's gone from the back of my trunk to somebody's van to now a big box truck in terms of the food that's delivered to the Center of Hope. So we're really pleased with that. I think I have wrapped up most everything that I can. I just wanted to add just some final comments. Nothing much more than I said at the county board meeting. You know, looking back, I remember the first community services meeting that I attended. It was chaired by Gaylord Jensen, and it was held in the southeast corner of the courthouse. And from day one until today, I think we've had, between the county clerk's office and this committee, have had a good relationship. It's been one of communication, and most importantly, it's been one of support, where this committee has supported the things that needed to be done to carry out the duties and responsibilities in the county clerk's office. And for that, for people in the past, for people today, I just want to say thank you for that support. I want to say, you know, I appreciate the good relationship. And you know, when the board, in tough times, and when it's busy and chaotic and in election time and challenges that occur, you know, having the community services support makes a world of difference. And I know that that'll continue on in the transition with Dan. I expect a smooth transition. It'll be a good service to the community. And I know that, you know, that'll continue. So I just want to say thank you. And I wish you the best.
Thank you. Mr. Snipes?
Yeah, I'm thinking, I don't know. I'm not seeing faces, but I could be overlooking one that might have been here. But when I came on in 1990 on the county board, and also remember when you made the transition, I think you was working at Shapiro, and you came over and transitioned over to the county clerk. And it was all new at that particular time, and saw how you grew all the way up to now retirement. I knew you when you had no gray hair. And it's just amazing how times fly, but I want to personally congratulate you. Anytime I needed assistance, you always provided it. I didn't have a wait or whatever you call back spontaneously or whatever. So I want to thank you for your time served or whatever, and then wish you well into your future endeavors. But for some reason, I'm thinking you're going to have to kind of peek back in on the association, because they had a lot of positive words to say about you throughout the state. And then every now and then, Dan needs to be reminded of a senior person in the office.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, and you said growing up in the office, I look back and I think my kids grew up in the office too. So anyway, they're grown now, so.
I will echo what Mr. Snipes said. You've always been kind and helpful to anytime I've ever had a question about your office, or even in my political run. You've always taken some time to explain to me the process, and so I appreciate you and your knowledge and your experience. And you will be missed. I know your shoes will be filled, but you will be missed. And so with that, I'm going to lend the floor to Mr. Wheeler, because I think he has some statements to make.
Well, I think we've said almost everything, you know, whether it's a county board meeting or here. You know, there's I appreciated was the integrity of both, making sure that elections were just that, contained integrity, that they were run efficiently. You cared about that more than really your own comfort, or it was bigger than the office. You looked at the elections as, in the way you ran your office, as everything, and across political lines. And for that, I thank you. I think it's a high standard, and it's one that everybody should to strive to attain in the position that you're in, or your counterparts in other counties. I appreciated that, and it was the information that you got out to everybody, and the way that those operations were run at the polling places. And that's just a small part of it, but because that translated to everything else you guys did in your office. So I know you, like as the chairman said, it's being left in good hands. The standard has been set, and it will be met. But you know, you know, you deserve this time, and we thank you for the time you spent with us. Now, we as I mentioned in the county board meeting, when you took your watch off, we don't have a watch for you. I'm sorry, but you might have. He knows our finances. So the one thing we do have is, and I don't know if the chairman wants to read the plaque up here. I can't verbatim. I can't remember exactly what we came up with, but It's just something for us to, to put on the wall, just to remember that we appreciate you as a board.
I appreciate your words. Thank
It
you.
says, certification of appreciation to J. Bruce Clark in recognition of 32 years of dedicated service and commitment to the people of Kankakee County, Illinois, in witness by Mr. Wheeler himself on the 19th day of December.
Well, thank you.
You
Thank
come
I
hand it
appreciate
to him. It's your name on it. I'm not the chair. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. I appreciate it. Thank you. I did leave some planning guides for 2018 for you, so please stop and pick up your planning guide on the back table. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Don't we have a little something down in the clerk's office for, the county? Didn't we get that here? A little email message?
Yeah.
Okay. What day is that?
That's all right.
On the 29th of December from 2 to 4, we will have Cake and Punch in recognition of Bruce's
The send-off
many
party.
years and his impending retirement.
December 29th from 2 to 4.
Yes.
Thank you.
Going away party. Okay, moving on, in the agenda, the AWAC committee. AWAC, animal. AWAC. Mrs. Parker, would you like to give us an update?
Yes.
All right.
Be very happy. We've been meeting. We are not going to meet this month because of the Christmas holidays, but we do have one opening on the board, and we're going to be accepting applications for that position and reviewing those after the first of the year. Hopefully, we'll get some people that are animal lovers and really have a vision of what needs to be done in the county and able to work with animal control. Other than that, as Julie said, we have a big agenda coming forward for spring, and we're looking forward to working with the shelters and others in the community.
Thank you. Anything to add? Thank you very much. They can get the application online, I believe. It's online on the county website.
Yes.
The application.
Go to the go to the county website and pick up the application, download it, and send it in to the county building here. And we'll be reviewing those applications after the first of the year, and hopefully we'll get a lot.
Yeah, Mr. Wheeler.
Yes, and if they can't find it, they can email us. We'll send it to them, or they can stop into the county board office and pick up a paper application there. So.
Okay.
Sometimes people have trouble navigating all those documents online. If not, then we'll get it to them.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, do I have any old business to be discussed before the committee? Any old business? Any new business to be discussed before the committee? New business? Well, do I have a motion to adjourn? Ms. Dunbar with a motion to adjourn? Mrs. Peters? All in favor?
Aye.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.